Dear friends, we have reached an historic Shabbat in the life of our congregation. For this evening, we install Temple Emanu-El's new assistant rabbi, Emma Dubin. And we are delighted that she's joined in the congregation by many of her family, including her parents, Tom and Pam, her husband Ian and his parents, David and Risa, her grandmother Sheila, and her grandfather Seth and Barbara. While we formally install Emma tonight, she has, of course, been an important part of our temple for 3 years as our rabbinic intern and another 6 months as our rabbi, having been ordained on this bima last May. And in that time, she has already had a profound impact on our congregation. She has assumed the broadest array of rabbinic duties, from life cycle to pastoral to programmatic, with areas of special focus, including teaching our middle schoolers in religious school, their parents in our family education program and our weekly Torah study class, and advising our young members circle and other young professionals initiatives. So many of you have told me how much you appreciate her presence on the bima, her intelligent sermons, and her having been by your side in moments of sorrow as well as joy. Meeting with her as I do at our set time every week, listening to her speak during worship, I am time and again struck by her depth of thought and kindness and genuine desire to serve the Jewish people. I first met Emma in the spring of 2022. We were emerging from the most difficult years of the pandemic and eager to build back our clergy to the strength necessary for a robust in-person program. So we looked to hire a rabbinic intern. I recall vividly Rabbi Sapedin and I going down to the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion on 4th Street to interview 12 candidates for the position, all wonderful. At the end of the day, we would be asked to submit a form ranking our choices, the classic medical school residency match. And we hoped our top candidates would be as eager for us as we were for them. Emma was one of the first we met. Early that morning, she entered the classroom we had been assigned, and when she walked out 25 minutes later, because that's all the time we were permitted, Rabbi Sapedin and I looked at one another grinning. We knew the only difficult decision we had to make was who to list second. Emma was then a second-year rabbinic student, a summa cum laude graduate of NYU's Gallatin School with a concentration in sociology of religion, having studied for 2 years at Edinburgh University along the way. Following her graduation, she worked for Skyhorse Publishing and the development department of the Central Conference of American Rabbis. She taught Torah study across the park at Congregation Road of Sholom and religious school at Brooklyn Heights Synagogue. And as a rabbinic student, led High Holy Day services on Rikers Island. She is also an avid gardener. In Rabbi Dubin, you are blessed with a gifted teacher and spiritual leader. And Rabbi Ehrlich, Rabbi Sapedin, Rabbi Reines, Cantor Glasman, who is with our congregational group in Israel, Cantor Anderson, Cantor Corson, Dr. Sobel, student Cantor Epstein, and I are blessed with a wonderful colleague and friend, as is our entire staff, many of whom are present tonight. In the cycle of Torah readings, this week's Torah portion, Bereshit, indeed provides the perfect backdrop for a rabbinic installation. For the Sidra is about beginnings, and this moment is a new beginning for us. Emma, we are so happy that you have chosen to make Temple Emanu-El your rabbinic home. All the more so because it was an informed choice. After 3 years as our intern, you knew what you were getting yourself into. And you certainly won't be bored here. Our congregation needs you. The Jewish people needs you. and the world needs you. As you become ever more integrated into this temple community, you will come to find that there is no aspect of service to our people or our world that does not also serve God, who also needs you. As you tend the flame of our ancient faith, you will shine its light and wisdom on the world's myriad challenges. And as you comfort our sick and sorrowing and open your heart to our youth, you will draw them closer to that flame and to God's presence. A rabbi's installation offers her congregation a chance to learn from a teacher who has shaped the person she has become, a mentor after whom she seeks to model her own rabbinate. And so to be invited to deliver an installation address is indeed an honor. Rabbi Dr. Joseph A. Skloot is the Rabbi Aaron D. Pankin Associate Professor of Modern Jewish Intellectual History at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in New York, and the Associate Director of the Tisch Star Fellowship Program. He received his PhD in Jewish history from Columbia University, his rabbinical ordination from HUC, and his bachelor's in history from Princeton. Dr. Skloot's expertise is Jewish culture and religious thought in the early modern and modern periods. His research explores the history of Hebrew books, Jewish-Christian relations, the development of Jewish law, and Reform Jewish theology. His first book, First Impressions, Sefer Hasidim and Early Modern Hebrew Printing, was published by Brandeis University Press. It describes how 16th century Hebrew printers, Jewish and Christian, transformed a heterogeneous corpus of manuscripts into a canonical book, and by extension, how Jewish sacred texts, long thought to be eternal and unchanging, were in fact created by and for human beings with specific agendas and interests. He has also edited a volume of essays on contemporary questions in Jewish theology and life, entitled Communities of Meaning, Conversations on Modern Jewish Life. Prior to his appointment to HUC's faculty, Dr. Skloot served as an associate rabbi at Washington Hebrew Congregation, and he was chair of the Worship and Practice Committee of the Central Conference of American Rabbis, overseeing the production of the Reform movement's liturgies. Currently, he advises the CCAR on the production of a new Torah commentary. He's a sought-after teacher of adult learners and has served on the faculty of our Stryker Cultural Center, as well as scholar in residence at congregations across the country. He is my friend of nearly 30 years, and we are delighted that he is here tonight. Please join me in welcoming to the pulpit Rabbi Dr. Joseph Skloot.
Thank you, Rabbi Davidson, for that generous introduction. It is an honor to stand here alongside so many dear friends and colleagues whom I've known for years and who I also call my rabbis and my cantors, Rabbi Davidson, Cantor Glasman, Rabbi Ehrlich, Rabbi Sapaden, Rabbi Reines, Cantor Anderson. What an amazing group. What an honor to be here. And thank you, Rabbi Dubin, Emma, for bestowing upon me the honor of preaching at this simcha and offering you words of blessing. You entered my office, you entered my classroom several years ago, but you entered my office at a particular moment with a particular question about patrilineality in Reform Jewish history, the decision to affirm patrilineal Jews as much as matrilineal Jews. And you came into my office with a question about how that decision was made. And I said, I think you got to do some archival historical research. And you said, what's that? I said, you got to go into the archives. And at the end of an almost 2-year process, you produced one of the most extraordinary documents of scholarship that I have ever been associated with. a study of how that decision was made with curiosity and insight and precision and focus. And you took many of my needling comments every now and then in stride with grace and elegance, as you always do. It has been a blessing to be your teacher, and I thank you for this honor tonight. And thank you to the leadership of Temple Emanu-El for welcoming me to this bima once more, and Yasher Koach on making what is a brilliant choice. Enough said. Goodbye. As you have heard, it is truly auspicious that this installation occurs as we read the first portion of the book of Genesis, known as Breshit, in the beginning. We inaugurate this year's cycle of Torah readings. We celebrate a new beginning for 20 hostages now safely home, and perhaps tentatively a new beginning and new possibilities for Israelis and Palestinians. And we welcome Emma into the rabbinate of this historic congregation. I remember my first Ulpan Hebrew teacher, many years ago, quoting a venerable Hebrew proverb to me, Kol hatchalot kashot, every beginning is difficult. She was warning me, or perhaps pacifying me, in other words, that what would become a lifelong endeavor, the study of Hebrew and the study of our sacred literature, could not be expected to begin easily. Every beginning is difficult. And no doubt, Emma, this is not an easy time to begin one's rabbinate. You are courageous for choosing to pursue this path at this moment. 2 years before I was ordained, I sat in Lowenstein Sanctuary at HUC-JIR's graduation ceremony, and I heard the great feminist author Anita Diamond proclaim these words. Get ready. There has never been a better time to be Jewish. And at that time, she was right. It's hard to be as bombastic, as exuberant, and as hopeful today. The proverb says, Kol hatchalot kashot, every beginning is difficult. And there is no doubt difficulty in beginning a rabbinate at a time that one respected scholar has called the high watermark of anti-Semitism in America. And at a time of division in the global Jewish community and in our country. But difficulty does not mean that the endeavor is not worthwhile, not necessary, and not blessed. A rabbinate, and indeed any worthwhile endeavor, is all those things, as our Torah reading this week indicates. The first word of the Torah is not the standard Hebrew word for beginnings, however. It's not the one associated with difficulty in that proverb that was quoted to me long ago. The first word of the Torah is more rare, Reshit. Why Reshit and not Hatchala? Why this word and not that? Many explanations have been proposed, but according to one view, the Torah begins with the word Reshit because it's linked to 3 agricultural commandments: challah, tithing, and first fruits. In fact, these commandments are so important that according to tradition, God created the whole world so that they might be undertaken. Bizchut shlosha devarim nivra ha'olam, bizchut challah, uvizchut maaserot, uvizchut bikurim. By the merit of 3 things the world was created, by the merit of challah, by the merit of tithing, and by the merit of first fruits. Now, in order to understand this claim, one has to indulge in what might be called some creative anachronism. At the time of the creation of the world, the Torah and its commandments had not been given. And yet, the tradition says, by merit of those commandments, or in other words, in order so that one day these 3 commandments might be fulfilled, God created the world. So what are those commandments exactly? Challah is something we all know. It's that glorious egg bread similar to brioche that we eat on Shabbat and on holidays. And these days, you can find in nearly any bakery on the Upper East Side and as far as the Upper Peninsula. But actually, it's more complicated than that. Challah is actually not the bread itself, but a small piece of dough removed from any kind of loaf prior to baking. And the burning of that piece of dough by the baker symbolizes the portion of bread dough that our ancestors once donated to the temple to feed the priests and to offer on the altar. Tithing. That's the practice of donating 1/10 of our produce, of our income every year, again to those priests who did not have any agricultural holdings, and also, and importantly, to the poor, who, like the priests, lack the ability to sustain and to provide for themselves. And the first fruits. We are especially familiar with this ritual, gathered here on the heels of Sukkot, when in ancient times our ancestors brought the first fall fruits to the temple, an expression of gratitude for the harvest and for the land. As Emma, a longtime volunteer at her community garden, knows well, no harvest is guaranteed. When those first buds turn into apples and pears and plums, ripening at the right time, avoiding pests or frost, that is a minor miracle which calls for gratitude. Our ancestors brought their first fruits to the temple and offered prayers of thanksgiving to God. So what do each of these ancient rituals have to do with the creation of the world, you ask? Each of them is linked to creation and our Torah reading this week, not conceptually, but literarily. When each ritual is enumerated elsewhere in the Torah, the word reshit appears. Our tradition teaches that when a word appears in multiple instances in the Torah, those instances are connected. And so God created the world and its fullness, bereshit, at the beginning, so that we might fulfill those commandments, challah, tithing, and first fruits. Of course, there's no temple today, no priesthood, and while some of us might be gardeners, most of us do not live according to the agricultural rhythms of the Bible. We enjoy challah, some of us even bake it, but few engage in the ritual of the symbolic offering. And yet, these three commandments share an essential principle, I think. They involve giving something up, the giving up of a portion of what is rightfully ours, even the most anticipated, the most beautiful first portion, giving it up to someone or something else, something greater, someone in need. Challah represents our commitment to sustaining the essential institutions of Jewish life. We give up a portion of what is ours in order to fashion synagogues and communities and schools and the Jewish state. Tithing is itself a regular practice through which we support those who cannot support themselves. We give up a portion of what is ours in order to fashion a community of mutual aid and interdependence. And the offering of the first fruits, this is a public expression of our blessings, of our awareness that what we possess today may not, in fact, be ours tomorrow. We give up a portion of what is ours because we know our existence in this world, like those fruits, is something of a miracle. And what did our ancestors do after they performed those rituals? They feasted. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that later. They enjoyed. They celebrated all of creation and its fullness thereof. Emma. As I think I have said to you and your classmates more than once, the rabbinate is not a profession, it's a life. I learned something of this on my very first day as a rabbinical student at HUC-JIR in New York. My classmates and I gathered in Leventrit Hall on the 4th floor of this congregation to hear from one of your beloved predecessors, Rabbi David Posner of blessed memory. David began his talk by introducing us to several Aramaic verb patterns, which he illustrated with a multi-page handout. But then he turned his focus to the practical work of being a rabbi, to the essence of his rabbinate. And he said, I am here to serve this congregation. It's a principle I know Rabbi Davidson and your colleagues live by still. The rabbinate is a life of service. It demands regular sacrifices, giving up a portion of what is rightfully ours. In fact, I would suggest that that is what anyone engaged in work they believe is essential and urgent and necessary does. We give up a portion of our loaves, of our produce, of our harvest, of our time, of our energy, and of our gifts in order to strengthen the institutions that make it possible for us to live in what is sometimes a very difficult world. We give up a portion of what is rightfully ours, but we do so knowing that a feast, a celebration will follow, that a blessing comes in the wake of those offerings. I know this from my rabbinate to be the case. The work of tending the garden, that is Jewish life, is no doubt difficult, perhaps especially right now. But I am certain, Emma, that you will have infinite opportunities to feast and enjoy your harvest in the years ahead. You will get your hands dirty building institutions, caring for those in need, offering prayers at the most important moments. And you will stand under the chuppah with students you blessed as infants. You will hear your Torah, your teaching, repeated back to you at the most surprising moments and by people you never thought were listening. And you will have the sacred honor of comforting and eulogizing friends as they leave this world. Our Torah reading this Shabbat begins with the word Reshit. Remarkably, our Torah teaches that it was precisely because of the merit of our devotion, our sharing of our gifts, and our service to others that God decided to create this very world. And by extension, Emma, I think it's no exaggeration to say that it is because of you, bizchutech, and because of the merit of your decision to live a life of service as a rabbi, and as a rabbi of this congregation, that God created the world and its fullness. And for all of us, when we live lives of devotion and service, bizchutenu, the world was created for us as well. Shabbat Shalom. Emma, would you please join me and Rabbi Davidson at the Ark? Please rise.
Emma, with all the promise that you bring to us, we make some promises to you. We promise you the opportunity to teach, but also to learn, to lead, but also to make mistakes, to give strength, and also to find strength in us. Tonight, Temple Emanu-El enters with you into a covenant of sacred partnership and loving friendship, and we do so with enormous joy.
Emma, you know that Mishnah, that famous Mishnah, Aselecha Rav ukanelecha chaver. Find yourself a rabbi, make yourself a friend. You have done that here as a rabbi of this congregation, and you will do that more. May your life be filled with all the friends who carry you through in this sacred work that you are doing, that you do with devotion and curiosity and diligence and faith.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav lecha bichunecha.
May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav lecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may God show favor on you always and give you shalom, give you peace, now and forever.
It means the world to me to stand here tonight on the bima where I learned how to be a rabbi, the bima where I received rabbinical ordination, now officially as your rabbi. I am so grateful to this extraordinary congregation where history and innovation, emotion and reason, warmth and majesty really do meet. Thank you for choosing me to be your assistant rabbi. Thank you to my teacher, Rabbi Sklut, for your blessing, for your teaching, all that you teach me in and out of the classroom. I'm grateful for your commitment to intellectual and ethical rigor, your insistence that your students read widely and deeply, and how you model holding serious and specific Jewish commitments with the greatest value of being in community. Thank you to my first teachers, Mom and Dad, Nana and Papa, and all my family, who taught me how to be a Jew and how to be a person. I'm so thrilled that you are here tonight to see why I love this congregation so much. Ian, you are the smartest and most scrupulously ethical person I know. Thank you for being my thought partner, for making perfect Shabbat dinners every week, and for bringing David and Risa and the rest of your family into my life. Thank you to Rabbi Davidson. A few months ago, I was having lunch with a friend in a local restaurant when Rabbi Davidson walked in. We greeted each other, and then he went to sit down at his table. A moment later, the waitress came over to me and my friend. She had seen the exchange. "Do you know Josh?" she asked. And I said, "Yes, I do." And she beamed. "Josh is such a nice man," she said. And it is true. Rabbi Josh Davidson is such a nice man. And even people who don't know that he's a rabbi know that he is a mensch. He is learned, perceptive, and also deeply kind to everyone his path crosses. He is beyond generous with his time. I don't know how he has time to do everything that he does. He has spent hours poring over my sermon drafts with me, tightening language, nudging me to clarify what I believe, and teaching how to communicate with both frankness and warmth. I could not ask for a better senior rabbi to learn from and work alongside. Nor could I dream of a better group of colleagues. Temple Emanu-El is the best place in the world to learn how to be a rabbi. I get to learn from the most brilliant, loving, and dedicated clergy. Cantors Anderson, Glasman, and Corson, Rabbis Ehrlich, Reines, and Sepadan. They are the same people on and off the bima. They are principled, wise, and funny, and alive with love for Judaism and for this congregation. Cantorial intern David Epstein has been a constant source of camaraderie and calm on our overlapping journeys through seminary. All of my colleagues are outstanding at what they do. Every day I am amazed by Jeanette Foster's organizational prowess. I am in awe of our administrative and operations department under Kara Glickman's formidably capable leadership. Under the care of Mitchell Stein, Director of Security, I truly never feel safer than I do here at the Temple. Every department does superb work, facilities and maintenance, with particular gratitude to Jesus Toribio, Stephen Jones and the Finance Department, the Center for Interfaith Dialogue, Marketing and Social Media, Membership, Development, IT, Emanu-El Downtown, our nursery school and Department of Lifelong Learning, the Stryker Centers, and of course, our music department under Colin Fowler's leadership. Emanu-El's commitment to excellence is a unique thing, and it begins, of course, with you, the leadership and wise stewardship of the Board of Trustees, the dedication of lay leaders and volunteers, and the thoughtfulness, generosity, and creativity that congregants offer every day. As of tonight, I'm no longer a rabbi, but your rabbi. As such, I believe I have specific, active, and material obligations to you, which I accept with joy. My first duty as your rabbi is accompaniment. It is a privilege to accompany you along life's journey from birth to burial. I strive to bring competence, discretion, and love as I join you for the best and worst moments of your lives. Thank you for letting me in. My second duty is to teach the beauty and wisdom of Jewish tradition. This happens in nursery and religious school classrooms, meeting one-on-one, adult education programs, in trying to respond to your unexpected questions at Onegs, and, of course, from this pulpit. To preach is an extraordinary privilege, let alone to preach from this historic pulpit to this remarkable congregation that so values intellectual rigor, honesty, and imagination. To have a captive audience for some 7 to 20 minutes, I know you would prefer 7, to teach about Judaism and the moral issues of the day, it is an honor I do not take for granted. I hope to speak in a way that does right by God, Jewish tradition, and you. A rabbi's duty is to know Jewish tradition and represent it accurately from the pulpit. We should acknowledge our scope of expertise and be substantive, sincere, and grounded in Torah, and affirm every congregant's freedom of principled disagreement. While clergy speak from the pulpit uninterrupted, preaching is dialogical. If you disagree with me, I hope that you will tell me so kindly so that we can learn from one another. May we all grow through being in relationship. My third duty as your rabbi is to love you. The Talmud teaches that before a priest could offer the priestly benediction over his congregation, he had to recite a blessing to God. who has commanded us to bless God's people Israel with love. And this blessings language with love is very unusual. The Zohar explains, a priest who does not love the people may not bless them. It is the same for a rabbi, and I hope that you will love me back. Perhaps this sounds audacious, but love in Jewish thought is not just an emotion, but a choice to approach relationship with respect, compassion, and patience. Rabbi Shai Held teaches that love in Jewish thought is most accurately understood as a disposition. Leviticus teaches that to love is to treat one's fellow with grace and forgiveness. Isaac and Rebekah demonstrate how love means providing comfort amid sorrow. Deuteronomy tells us that love is the devotion of heart, soul, and might. The story of Jonathan and David shows that love is protection. So I will say it. In all these ways, I hope we love each other. To accompany, to teach, and to love. These are some of my sacred duties and commitments to you as your rabbi, and I accept them with joy. I am honored to be part of this holy community. Thank you, Congregation Emanu-El, and thank you, God. Shabbat Shalom.